And I just, all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. I knew exactly what happened, who did it, how they did it, what they did it with, and when it took place. And it was just like boom, 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 boom. And the dead person was telling me.
Hi everyone, I'm Em.
And I'm Liv. And we're your Meta Psyckicks. And today, backed by popular demand, we have a special guest.
Your mother.
Yeah.
And she's going to be doing another Paranormal Stories of a Medium. We're on like 5 or 6 or 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have you bump in here. So my mom has quite a few stories, like first-time stories of when she realized she was a medium. This story will blow your mind because the ending is wild.
Oh, wild.
As Emily likes to say. So from her perspective, it's better, obviously, because it's not my story.
So my grandmother always would watch me and my 3 great aunts, my Aunt May, my Aunt Stella, and my Aunt Anna, or my Aunt Ann. And they were all very different even though they were sisters. And in those days when somebody passed away, the funerals were held in the home. Now, when I went to visit them, I was just this, I was little. I was 5, I think, at the time. And I was just told that we were going to visit the greats. I didn't know that
it's like some Harry Potter shit.
Yeah.
I
didn't know that we were going to visit because of a funeral. I didn't know. I had no idea. So we got there and there was this old house that my great-grandfather had built in the early 1900s and they all grew up in it. There was a front room of the house. So it was a straight back house. So there was a front room, a living room, a dining room, and at the back of the house was a kitchen. So the front room is where I always hung out because I was the child. It was smaller and in there was toys and coloring books. These guys don't remember because they were too young, but I had little paper dolls. And you could peel them off of the paper and stick them onto things and dress them up. And I love those. I thought they were great. This particular time, the whole way there was about a 2-hour drive. I was told, you can't go in the front room. You have to stay out of the front room, which I was very confused about. And when I got there, as the precocious, red-headed child that I was, I asked all these questions. I said, why can't I go in the front room? I want to play with my paper dolls and blah, blah, blah. Well, they're not in there. They're in the kitchen. So that got me in the kitchen, kept me in the kitchen. So I went into the living room and I was sitting with my grandmother and my great uncle Stevie was sitting in the archway. The doors were arched and he was sitting in the archway between the living area and the dining room. And there was this and he was a small man. He was bald. He had on like a chocolate brown suit and a little hat, because he always wore a hat because he was bald. Very 1940s. And I'd only met him once before, but he told me who he was. He's like, hey, and he was kind of reaching out to me. And like I said, I really didn't know my great uncles. I'm sitting there and I'm walking past, and this little man in this brown suit is like, come here. And he's reaching and goes, I'm gonna tickle you. And he kept saying, come here, little girl. He goes, I'm gonna tickle you. Well, my Uncle Stevie, this man kept saying, I'm gonna tickle you, I'm gonna tickle you. And so when I would walk through the archway, I would go like this, and I would go all the way around, and then run to one of my female relatives. And they're like, what's going on? And I said, that man is trying to tickle me, and I don't want him to tickle me. She says, wow, you're not ticklish. You're just telling me you're not ticklish. I'm like, I'm not gonna talk to him. I said, he's spitting. She goes, spitting? I said, yeah, he's going with this, and he's spitting things out, and I don't like him. He's got this hat down over his face. And so I started describing him. His suit, I said, he's got a dog chain, and I don't want him to grab me and choke me. I mean, I was just like, child's imagination was just off the charts. We went into the front room. She said, all right, who took their eyes off the baby? And I knew that was me. And I just kind of looked up at her, and they all looked at me and said, what are you talking about? She goes, who took their eyes off the baby? They've been watching me. And the reason why is because I just described my Uncle Stevie to a letter. And she's like, well, she said that, there's this guy, and she described her, and they're all just like looking around like, what the hell? That was my Uncle Stevie, and he was laid out in the front room, and that was the day of the funeral, and that's why I was not allowed in the front room. But he was sitting right there, and I was having full-blown conversations with him and running from him because he was trying to grab me and tickle me. And he was just sitting there at his own funeral, chilling out, hanging out with me, and like I said, I'd never really actually met him. So it was interesting. But yeah, I mean, my Uncle Johnny, or my Uncle Stevie, I mean, he was there. I saw him flat out.
Yeah. It's weird.
Just looking at me.
Sounds like a little shifty old thing.
Did he look like he was real when you were a child?
Yeah, I mean, to me, there was just another
being?
guy sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was just kind of sitting on a stool, just kind of checking everything out.
Like there was no difference between him and someone else who was actually...
Nope. Not in my mind, nope.
Yeah,
nope.
And when I used to see people too, I never saw through them. They were always solid figures.
And he actually had there was an actual brass spittoon sitting next to him, and he was spitting out his chewing tobacco. And I'm pretty sure now that I'm older and I realize that was chewing tobacco. I'm like, why would this man be spitting
bubble gum?
And right? But yeah, I mean, he was real. To me, it was just another person staying there that I really didn't know, but I knew that it was someone that I was related to. This is off the subject, but it's not. There's 3 types of mediums. We talked about that. I think you guys have talked about that. There's mental, physical, and trans mediumship. Trans mediumship, I'm very on the edge and close to. I have had medium readings, both scheduled and unscheduled, where the person has physically made me say something that I would never ever otherwise say.
I've been getting a lot of that.
Was with Andy's grandma.
I don't think they trance into me.
Yeah, no.
I think they just give me things to say.
Oh no, I will just shout shit out that I would never in a million years say. No sooner I say it, I'm like, what did I just say? What?
Oh no, I asked
and
them.
it kind of freaks me out.
That's weird.
And I had a situation once, and this was involving a murder case. And the person who was murdered, the victim, came in and sought me out. And the minute I heard about the murder, I was like, stop, I don't want to hear about it, don't tell me anymore, because I could feel this person, like, you need to help me find this person. And I'm like, holy shit. Because they knew who did it. They knew. It had me freaked out. And I escaped this person for over a year. And then, I don't know what it was, we were out one day.
The spirit?
Yeah, the victim, yeah. I was out eating with the person who knew more about this particular case than I did. And somebody who was also involved with it, a friend of his, had just called him. And all of a sudden, boom, that victim, that murder victim came in, gangbusters. That was it. That just kicked the door open. I had no choice in the matter whatsoever. And I just, all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. I knew exactly what happened, who did it, how they did it, what they did it with, and when it took place. And it was just like boom, 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 boom. And the dead person was telling me. And I was just like, now, I mean, you talk about overwhelming, because now this person has picked me to help solve their mystery of their murder. The reason why was because their mother was still here and still alive, and she was absolutely devastated. Who would do this to her son, who would murder her middle-aged son, and now she's an elderly woman, and it was horrible. And I could feel her pain and her anguish and her bewilderment, and it was horrible. And he put that on me to motivate out of me to figure it out. But what happened was, I was trying to explain to this person that I was sitting with what had happened, and he's like, I can't keep up with this, hang on. He went to the register at the place where we were eating and grabbed a piece of register tape and borrowed a pen, and I'm telling him stuff to write down. But as he was writing stuff down that I was saying, coming from the murder victim, I was writing other stuff down all at the same time.
So you were writing different stuff than what you were saying?
Yes. At the same time.
Okay. So
that's
he
what
was
I thought.
like, we need to get this done fast.
No.
Oh, he stepped into your body and was writing things.
I was writing stuff down, and the other person was writing something that I was saying. And I've never done it before. That's the only time, and first and only time I've ever done that, and I've not done it again since. Thank God. But we went that day, and we chased down this other person who was actually somebody that was on the case, a member of law enforcement. And she did not believe in any of this at all, mediumship or anything. And we got to this gal's house. It was a Sunday. She was one of the detectives. And, you know, the person that I was with is like, hey, you got to listen to Jules. She's got some information about this you guys have been toiling over. And she feels you guys have been going in the wrong direction, investigating the wrong people, and don't have this scenario down correctly. And I mean, just so much stuff.
Did they figure it out? Did they listen to you? I don't remember.
She did, but I had to get her to believe me. And it had been such a long time. And the person that I was with is like, look, she wrote, this is what I wrote down. Show her what you wrote down. Show her what you wrote down. Mm-hmm. And I showed her the 2 things that basically just outline the entire investigation in a chronological order. Very chronological. And then I said, I need a piece of paper. And she got me a piece of paper. She was still not believing it. She was really kind of pissed off that we were at her house. It was Super Bowl Sunday, by the way. And I drew a picture of the bed where the person was murdered. And I explained, and then I drew a circle. I'm not very artistic. I said, here's the bed. You walk in the room. Here's the door. Here's the bed. Here's the dresser. I explained the entire bedroom. And she was kind of like, what?
I really like when they give us layouts of places.
I explained how and where the person was laying and how they had to get the person out of there, which was very graphic. I won't get into that right now. And how they were shot. And so I drew a picture of a head, and I put a couple ears on. I drew a circle and little ears. Not even ears, just little half circles on the side of the head. And I said, the bullet went in this way, and then took a left, and it stopped, and it got lodged in the person's head. And then she just sat back. She goes, how do you know that? Well, she looked at the person that I was with, And she's like, no one knows that. There's 3 people that know information. Me, the coroner, and the coroner's secretary that wrote the paperwork out, that typed everything out. She goes, that's the only people that know that. She goes, there's no freaking way that she flipped out. She got up and she's like, okay, this is messed up. She goes, there's no way you, she goes, and the picture that you just drew is exactly what's in the file. That's exactly how the bullet traveled. That's exactly where it went. And she's like, and we did, and the person tried to get away. I said, the person that you're looking at is right-handed. She's like, well, I don't know. I said, you do know. I said, you interrogated him, and you made him write a statement. And if you think about it, he wrote with his right hand. She's like, hold on, let me think. She goes, holy shit. I mean, she was just overwhelmed. I said, it's impossible that he shot him. I said, because he was over on this side, and the bullet had to come this side. You can't shoot somebody in the right side of the head if they're on the right side of the bag with your right hand. It's impossible. And he rolled away to try to get away, and that's why the bullet got stuck, because he turned at the last minute. So the person who did it had to be left-handed. So think about it. So if you and I are laying in bed, right? Emily comes in, and you roll towards me. Roll towards me. Now, take your right hand and try to shoot her. You can't.
Exactly.
Back in the back of the head down here, you could use your left hand.
Yeah.
And that's what the murderer did. I said, the murderer is left-handed, and I think it's this person. And she's like, I said, you already asked this person if they were involved, and they said no, but you need to go ask them again, and you need to have them write a statement, and I guarantee you they will pick up their left hand and write that statement, because a left-handed person is the only way that someone could have murdered this person with the way the bullet traveled.
I'm surprised they didn't know that.
Do you know how many bad things happen with law enforcement cases where either they just don't know or it was handled improperly?
Evidence just pointed in the wrong direction. That happens all the time, because they're so charged, you know what I mean, to get this solved and to figure it out, and then just all of a sudden something seems probable, and they just go with that because you don't know anything else, because it's a mystery. That's why it's a murder mystery. So this accessory person is going to be involved, but they didn't actually pull the trigger. So, but they are involved, and they do know who did it. They were there when it happened. And
was it a woman?
I said, yes. I said, you are going to... Oh, very good.
Wait.
I knew it was a skinny dude that died too.
Wait, you're seeing it?
I don't know if he was skinny. I thought he was poor. Anyway, I said, you're going to run into this woman in out in public at a grocery store, pharmacy, wherever, and she's going to look terrible, and she's going to be very thin, very upset, and she's going to come to you and say, we need to talk about this because I can't keep it a secret anymore, because she does know. And she did. And she did come to her about a year later. She saw her and she flipped out. At that point, that particular detective called me and said, I need to talk to you about this case because we still haven't solved it and we still don't know what to do. So
I literally gave you everything that you needed to solve it, and you're not doing it.
But it was a lot of responsibility, and they did not go in the direction that I advised them to completely. And that was very frustrating. And there was a lot of legal things involved. And to this day, I don't really know the full outcome, nor do I want to know. Could I easily just look it up and find out? Yes, I could, but do I want to know? No, I did what I thought I could for this man who was the victim, who sought me out to help him. I helped him in the best way I could. I raised some eyebrows, I gave some information, and I mean, that's it. And then I stepped out of it at that point. I had to. And the man who was murdered, he backed off too. I mean, he felt like...
Well, because you gave him some peace. He said everything that he possibly could have, and at that point, there's nothing more that you can do. It's in law enforcement's hands, and that's so frustrating for so many people, living and dead. Look alive! Emily's doing an outro.
What is an outro?
I thought you were doing it.
You do the intro, and then you do the outro.
You gotta say bye to the fabulous people.
Bye-bye, fabulous people!
We also gotta tell them, subscribe! And hit that notification bell so you get notified the next time we post.
We're going to go record a podcast that has not these episodes or stories in it. Okay, we're going to go record a podcast right now. Actually not, probably next week or the week after. I'm nervous rambling.
Check out our podcast for more stories, and we'll see you guys in the next one. While you guys wait, check out these videos next. We have a playlist all about paranormal stories of a medium, so check that out to see more videos.
We are your Meta Psyckicks.
So what did your aunts do when they figured that out?
Oh, they freaked out. They had a huge argument about, who took their eye off the baby. I had her, and she was sitting right there. She must have gone in the front room, because how would she know? And she looked in the casket, and
were you sitting there while they were arguing?
I was standing, and I was holding my aunt's hand.
And was he
because I
the archway?
Yeah, he was still
while we were bickering about who's that must be hilarious for
That's
him.
why I was standing there and I was holding her hand. I wouldn't let go of his hand because
they're arguing about who let you see him.
Well,
and
my
he's
aunt and
oh my god.
My aunt